Buried beneath a world of ice and snow, hidden from the light for millennia, lies a frozen time capsule. This is the permafrost, a vast frozen ground that stretches across the Arctic regions of Siberia, Alaska, and northern Canada. For thousands of years, it has locked away secrets from the past. But now, as our world grows warmer, the ice is starting to melt, and with it, an ancient world is waking up. What will we discover beneath the thawing Earth? And more importantly, are we prepared for what's about to emerge? Permafrost is not just frozen soil. It's a vault, a natural freezer that has preserved lifeforms from prehistoric times. Locked inside are not only the remains of woolly mammoths and ancient plants but microorganisms, bacteria and viruses, that have been suspended in time, waiting for the right conditions to reawaken. With each degree the Earth warms, we get closer to unleashing the unknown. Much of the focus on climate change is on rising sea levels and extreme weather events. But a quieter, more insidious threat is unfolding beneath the melting permafrost. As this ancient ice thaws, it releases gases, trapped organic material, and microorganisms into the modern environment. Some of these life forms haven't been seen on Earth for tens of thousands of years. And some may pose dangers we can barely begin to understand. We've already encountered viruses that were frozen in permafrost for tens of thousands of years and were successfully revived. Take for example, the Mollivirus sibericum, a virus found in Siberian permafrost dating back 30,000 years. In the lab, we managed to bring it back to life. It was still infectious, though it only affected amoebas. But the question remains: what other pathogens might be waiting under the ice, and what impact could they have on modern life? The Mollivirus sibericum was just one of several viruses revived from ancient permafrost. In the last decade, scientists have discovered other giant viruses, some so large they can be seen under a regular microscope. These are unlike any viruses we know today, and while many of them are harmless to humans, the fact that they can remain viable after thousands of years raises an important question. Could viruses that affect humans or animals also be lurking in the permafrost? The consequences of a rapidly melting permafrost are not just theoretical. We've already seen how ancient pathogens can resurface in dangerous ways. In 2016, an unprecedented heatwave hit Siberia, causing a portion of the permafrost to melt. What it revealed was a tragedy waiting to happen: an anthrax outbreak. Decades earlier, a reindeer infected with anthrax had died and been buried in the permafrost. As the ice thawed, anthrax spores were released back into the environment. Thousands of reindeer died, and dozens of people were hospitalized. It was a stark reminder of how nature, left unchecked for centuries, could suddenly re-emerge with devastating consequences. Anthrax is just one example of what can happen when ancient pathogens are reintroduced to the modern world. The further the permafrost thaws, the deeper into Earth's past we go. Viruses from the Ice Age, some over 40,000 years old, could be lying dormant, waiting to be released. And unlike anthrax, which is a known entity, these ancient viruses are an enigma. We have no idea how they might interact with humans, animals, or the environment. Permafrost covers roughly 23 million square kilometers of the northern hemisphere, an area twice the size of the United States. In some places, it can extend several hundred meters deep, preserving layers of Earth's history like a frozen time capsule. For thousands of years, this ground has remained undisturbed, locking in organic material that has been buried since the last ice age. But what makes permafrost so unique is not just its depth, but its content. It's rich in ancient organic material, plants, animals, and microorganisms that were frozen almost instantaneously, preserved in pristine condition. As this organic material thaws, it begins to decompose, releasing not only carbon and methane but potentially ancient pathogens that we have never encountered before. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas, 30 times more effective at trapping heat in the atmosphere than carbon dioxide. And as permafrost melts, vast amounts of methane are being released into the atmosphere. Some scientists warn that we could reach a tipping point, where the thawing permafrost accelerates global warming even further, leading to an irreversible cycle. But it's not just the release of methane that concerns scientists. What about the life forms that have been trapped in the ice for millennia? In some parts of the Arctic, researchers have found microorganisms that are more than 100,000 years old, organisms that have never been exposed to modern humans. Could these ancient pathogens evolve to survive in today's climate? Could they adapt and become a threat to human or animal populations? The biggest fear is the unknown. While some pathogens, like anthrax, have been documented, many of the microorganisms buried in permafrost are entirely new to science. We have no idea how they might behave, or what risks they could pose. One concern is that as these organisms thaw, they could recombine with modern pathogens, creating hybrid viruses or bacteria that are even more dangerous. The possibility of hybridization is real. Viruses are notorious for their ability to evolve and adapt. When an ancient virus encounters a modern one, there's a chance that it could exchange genetic material, leading to new, unpredictable strains. This is the kind of scenario we fear. A viral wild card that could evade our immune systems and modern medical treatments. The thawing of permafrost is not just an Arctic problem, it's a global issue. As temperatures rise, regions around the world are facing unprecedented changes to their ecosystems. In the far north, indigenous communities are being displaced as their homes and infrastructure are destabilized by the melting ground. Roads are cracking, buildings are sinking, and traditional ways of life are being threatened. Permafrost thaw doesn't just affect the environment, it affects people. In Siberia, entire villages are at risk of being swallowed by the melting ground. In Alaska, roads and pipelines built on what was once solid ground are sinking, forcing costly relocations and rebuilding efforts. But the impacts don't stop there. Across the globe, the melting of permafrost has far-reaching consequences. Rising sea levels from melting glaciers are displacing coastal communities, while the release of methane from permafrost is accelerating global warming. And then there's the threat of ancient pathogens, bacteria and viruses that could spread far beyond the Arctic, potentially sparking pandemics unlike anything we've ever seen before. Scientists are in a race against time. Every summer, as Arctic temperatures rise, the permafrost melts a little further, and more of Earth's ancient past is revealed. Researchers are drilling deep into the ice, collecting samples, and working to understand what lies beneath. But the clock is ticking. For every discovery, there are countless more questions. What viruses remain buried, waiting to be released? How will these ancient microorganisms interact with modern species? And most importantly, how can we prepare for the unknown? At this critical juncture, the scientific community is focused on preparing for the worst, while hoping for the best. But as the world heats up, the likelihood of encountering ancient threats increases. The past is no longer frozen, it's breaking free. We are living in a time of unprecedented change. As the permafrost melts, ancient life is being uncovered, and with it, mysteries and dangers we can barely comprehend. From viruses locked in ice for millennia to the invisible gases shaping our climate, the stakes have never been higher. What lies beneath the thawing ice may hold the key to understanding not just our past, but our future. The question is, are we ready for what's about to be unleashed?